Islam. In Islam, when a Muslim dies, the body is washed gently, usually 3 times with water, in a respectful way similar to the purification before prayer. After that, the body is wrapped in a simple white cloth called a kafan in Arabic. It does not matter if the person was rich or poor, powerful or weak. Everyone is buried in the same simple white cloth. The body is buried quickly, usually within 24 hours if possible. It is placed on the right side, facing toward the Holy Kaaba. Before the burial, people perform a special prayer called janazah. The funeral prayer has no bowing and no prostration. It is only standing and asking Allah for mercy. But here's what most people don't know. The real journey starts after burial. According to Islamic texts, 2 angels named Munkar and Nakir appear in your grave. They ask you 3 questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? If you lived as a believer, the answers flow easily. Your grave expands as far as you can see. A window to paradise opens, and you see your place there. You sleep in peace until Judgment Day. But if you can't answer, your grave becomes so tight it crushes your ribs. A window to hell opens, and you experience punishment until resurrection. This period is called barzakh, a barrier state between death and the day of judgment, where your soul waits. Then comes the day of judgment. A trumpet is blown, and every soul that ever lived is resurrected from their graves. All of humanity gathered on one massive plain. The Quran describes the sun brought so close to them that people are drowning in their own sweat based on their sins, some up to their ankles, some up to their necks. Everyone receives their book of deeds. Righteous people get it in their right hand. The wicked get it in their left hand behind their back. Your deeds are weighed on cosmic scales called mizan. Even the weight of an atom of good or evil is counted, nothing forgotten. But here's where it gets intense. After judgment comes the Sirat bridge. Imagine a bridge stretched over hell, thinner than a hair, sharper than a sword. Everyone must cross it to reach paradise. There's no other way. Believers cross based on their deeds. Some cross like lightning, some walk, some crawl on hands and knees. Prophets go first, helping their followers. Prophet Muhammad stands at the end saying, "O Allah, save them, save them." But those who rejected faith, they fall into the fire below. Islam describes 7 levels of hell and 7 levels of paradise, with the highest called Firdaus. Judaism is Islam's cousin religion. They even bury their dead the same way. Within 24 hours, body washed by a holy society called Shevra Kadisha, wrapped in a simple white shroud, placed in a plain wooden coffin. But when it comes to the afterlife, Judaism has something surprising. Hell isn't permanent. Jewish texts call it Gehenna. It's not endless torture. It's purification, like your soul going through a spiritual washing machine. The maximum time anyone spends there? 12 months. Even the worst human who ever lived would eventually be purified and move on. This is completely different from Christianity and Islam, where hell is eternal. The righteous go straight to Gan Eden, which means Garden of Eden. Peace, closeness to God, spiritual pleasure. And here's something you will not believe. Judaism teaches that righteous people of all nations have a place there, not just Jews. After death, the soul waits for something called Olam Haba, which means the world to come. The idea is that the world we live in right now is broken and full of suffering. In Judaism, there is a strong belief that one day the Messiah will come and restore justice and peace. In Islam, it is called Dajjal, the false Messiah, the greatest deceiver in history. In Christianity, it is called the Antichrist. At that time, the dead will be physically resurrected. The body will come back to life and reunite with the soul, and people will live in a renewed and perfected world where suffering, injustice, and death will no longer exist. But not all Jews believe the same thing. Orthodox Jews expect actual physical resurrection, meaning their real bodies will come back to life one day. Reform Jews see it more spiritually, focusing on the soul living eternally rather than the body returning. And Kabbalah, the mystical branch, believes in Gilgul, which is reincarnation. Your soul comes back to earth in different bodies, life after life, until you complete your spiritual purpose. Christianity. In Christianity, there are 2 main different ideologies. One is Catholic, and the other is Orthodox. Christianity came from Judaism, but added something completely new. A place between heaven and hell called purgatory. When a Catholic dies, their soul is judged immediately. Heaven, hell, or purgatory. Purgatory is not meant to be punishment. It is purification. The idea is that if someone is destined for heaven, but their soul is not fully pure yet, they go there first. You can think of it like a spiritual hospital, where the soul is healed and prepared before entering paradise. How long does it last? No one really knows. It could be a short time, or it could be much longer. But one important difference is that, in this belief, people who are alive can pray and do good deeds to help the soul during this time. Your family can pray for you. Masses can be offered for your soul. These prayers can shorten your time in purgatory. This is why Catholics pray for the dead. In this belief, everyone who enters purgatory eventually reaches heaven. It is temporary, not eternal. Hell, in Catholic teaching, is eternal separation from God. It is a state of punishment and suffering for those who die in serious sin without repentance. And heaven is described as the beatific vision, seeing God directly and living in complete and eternal joy. But the story does not end there. At the end of time, Jesus Christ will return. All people will be resurrected, and the final judgment will take place. After that, God will create a new heaven and a new earth where the saved will live forever. However, Orthodox Christians have a slightly different understanding. In Orthodox Christianity, there is a belief that after death, the soul goes on a journey for about 40 days. During this time, the soul is said to revisit places from its life and face its past actions. In some traditions, this is described as the aerial toll houses, where the soul is questioned about different sins like lying, stealing, or pride. Because of this, the first 40 days after death are considered very important. The living pray, hold special liturgies, and ask for mercy, believing that these prayers help the soul during this journey. The ultimate goal in Orthodoxy is something called theosis, becoming closer to God and being transformed by his presence. One of their unique views is that heaven and hell are not completely separate places, but different experiences of the same divine reality. For the righteous, God's presence brings peace and joy. For those who reject him, that same presence becomes painful and overwhelming. Protestant Christians, however, rejected many of these ideas. They generally do not accept purgatory, prayers for the dead, or this 40-day journey. Instead, they teach that after death, a person goes directly to heaven or hell, based mainly on faith in Jesus. Hinduism. Now we're going to see something completely different. In Hinduism, you don't go to heaven or hell and stay there forever. You come back, again and again and again. When a Hindu dies, the body is cremated on a funeral pyre. Fire purifies. The eldest son usually lights it. After hours, the body becomes ash. That ash is collected and scattered in a sacred river, with the Ganges being most holy. But what happens to the soul? Here's where Hinduism shocks most people. Your soul, called Atma, is eternal. It never dies. When your body dies, the soul just moves to a new one, like changing clothes. You've done this thousands of times already. You just don't remember. Messengers of Yama, the god of death, come and take your soul to his realm. There, your entire life is reviewed. Every action, every thought, good karma and bad karma are tallied up. Based on this, you might go to Swarg, a heavenly realm, to enjoy rewards, or Narak, a hell realm, to suffer consequences. But here's the key. These are temporary. Once your karma is used up, you're reborn again. You could come back as a human. You could come back as an animal, even an insect or plant. Your birth circumstances, whether you're born rich or poor, healthy or sick, in a loving family or abusive one, all determined by past life karma. This cycle is called samsara. Birth, death, rebirth, over and over forever. Sounds exhausting, right? That's because it is. The ultimate goal in Hinduism is moksha, liberation, escaping the cycle completely. No more births, no more deaths, no more suffering. How do you achieve it? Through righteous living, meditation, devotion to God, and spiritual knowledge. When you're finally pure enough, you break free. But different Hindu traditions understand moksha in different ways. For followers of Vishnu, moksha means reaching Vaikuntha, the eternal realm of Vishnu, where the soul lives in peace and never returns to the cycle of rebirth. For followers of Shiva, moksha is often described as merging with Shiva himself, where the individual identity dissolves and the soul becomes one with the ultimate reality. The philosophy of Advaita Vedanta teaches something even deeper. Your individual soul and the universal soul are actually the same thing. You just don't realize it. Moksha is waking up to this truth. You are never separate from God. You are always God. You just forgot. Some texts describe 14 different worlds or realms where souls can be reborn. Higher heavenly realms with gods and pleasures, earth in the middle, lower hellish realms with suffering. But all of them are temporary stops in an endless journey. Now, Buddhism took this whole concept of reincarnation and twisted it in a way that changes everything. Buddhism says there's no permanent soul. Nothing is reborn because there's nothing permanent to begin with. So what actually continues from one life to the next? In this belief, it is consciousness. A common example is a candle lighting another candle. The new flame is connected to the first, but it is not the same flame. In the same way, the next life is linked to the previous one, but it is not the exact same person. This is why it is often described as rebirth rather than reincarnation. And that difference is important. In Theravada Buddhism, which is practiced in places like Thailand and Sri Lanka, when a person dies, rebirth happens immediately. There is no waiting period. Based on karma, consciousness moves straight into a new existence. This new life can be in one of 6 different realms, depending on the actions and intentions of the previous life. Mahayana Buddhism, which is practiced in places like China and Japan, has a more detailed understanding. In Pure Land Buddhism, it is taught that a person can be reborn in the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha. This is seen as a peaceful, pure realm where conditions are perfect, making it much easier to reach enlightenment. Tibetan Buddhism has one of the most detailed descriptions of the afterlife. They describe a process called the bardo, a period of about 49 days between death and rebirth, where consciousness experiences powerful and intense visions. It is said that soon after death, a person sees a clear and bright light. If they recognize it as their true nature, they can reach enlightenment instantly. But most people become afraid and miss this moment. After that, peaceful and beautiful figures are believed to appear, offering guidance and liberation. If the person understands that these visions come from their own mind, they can be freed. But many do not recognize this and continue on. Later, terrifying and wrathful figures may appear. Even these are seen as projections of the mind, and still another chance to escape the cycle of rebirth. During these 49 days, Tibetan monks may sit near the body and read from the Bardo Thodol, often called the Book of the Dead, guiding the consciousness through this journey. If enlightenment is not reached during this period, rebirth happens in one of 6 realms. There is the God realm, where beings live in pleasure for long ages, but eventually fall. The jealous God realm, filled with conflict. The human realm, which is actually considered the best chance for enlightenment. The animal realm, driven by instinct and suffering. The hungry ghost realm, where beings are never satisfied. And the hell realms, where intense suffering is experienced. But even in Buddhism, these hells are not eternal. A being may suffer for a very long time, but once that karma is exhausted, rebirth continues. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is not heaven, it is nirvana, complete freedom from the cycle of birth and death. It is not about going to a better place, but ending the journey itself. Nirvana is often described as the end of craving, attachment, and ignorance. Some call it a peace beyond words, while others describe it as a drop of water returning to the ocean. And now, the oldest tradition we are discussing offers a very different vision, one involving a bridge of judgment and the promise that evil itself will one day come to an end. Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest known religions in the world. It is older than Christianity and Islam. Many people believe that some of its ideas about heaven, hell, judgment, and angels later influenced the Abrahamic religions. Traditionally, Zoroastrians did not bury or burn their dead. Instead, they used structures called towers of silence, where bodies were left for vultures. They believed the earth and fire were sacred and should not be polluted by corpses. Today, because of modern laws and changes in society, many Zoroastrians now bury or cremate their dead. After death, the soul is believed to stay near the body for 3 days while prayers are recited. On the 4th day comes judgment at the Chinvat Bridge, which separates the world of the living from the afterlife. At this moment, a person's conscience, called Dana, appears. If someone lived a righteous life, she appears as a beautiful guide, and the bridge becomes wide and easy to cross. The soul reaches the house of song, a paradise of light and joy in the presence of Ahura Mazda, the god of goodness. If a person lived wickedly, Dana appears frightening, and the bridge becomes extremely narrow. The soul falls into the house of lies, a place of darkness and suffering. There is also a third possibility. If good and bad deeds are exactly equal, the soul goes to Hamistagan, a neutral state where there is neither happiness nor punishment. Here is what makes Zoroastrianism unique among these traditions. Hell is not eternal. In the end, evil itself will be destroyed. Zoroastrianism teaches a cosmic struggle between Ahura Mazda, the god of truth and light, and Angra Mainyu, the force of darkness and deception. Every human participates in this battle through their choices. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds strengthen the side of light. At the end of time comes Frashokeredi, the final renewal. Evil is defeated. The dead are resurrected. Even those in hell are purified and eventually saved. The entire universe is restored and perfected. Some Zoroastrian texts describe molten metal flowing through the world at the end. For the righteous, it feels like warm milk. For the wicked, it burns and cleanses them until they too become pure and join the perfected creation. Today, there are only about 200,000 Zoroastrians, mostly in India and Iran. Yet their ideas about judgment, resurrection, and the final victory of good influenced billions of people through later religious traditions.